Beyond the Buckles, real rodeo topics for cowboys and cowgirls.
Hey guys, welcome to the Beyond the Buckle podcast with myself, Cody Hart, world champion bull rider, along with me, the CEO of Buckham Agency, Nathan Gililland, my good buddy from Missouri, Blake Skaggs, a mini bull stock contractor, buck and bull stock contractor, and Briar Hart, an aspiring young bull rider coming up the ranks. What do you guys think? What do y'all guys think about the podcast? Y'all excited? Y'all ready? We're going to get some energy going?
Oh, yeah. I'm really excited about this deal. New journey for us. It's big things going to happen in this deal.
Sure.
I'm ready.
Go ahead.
I definitely think that it's going to be some hot topics that come out, and a lot of people are going to be wanting to know what's the upcoming topics and keep listening.
Well, you got that right. We got some great topics coming up. We've got the look off. We've got the PBR teams. We're going to talk about all of it, and not just the generic side of it. We're going to get under the covers and get in bed with some of this stuff, and it's going to get raunchy. So you guys better strap on your bootstraps and hang on tight, 'cause it's going to be a rough ride. The first one, let's get right into it. What about this virus going around, the look off virus? These guys are looking off. Be dead center of these bulls, sitting right in the center. What in the world are they thinking? They belling off, getting off. I mean, I thought the whole point was to make it 8 seconds, get a score, make money, win money. What have y'all seen? Y'all seeing that too, or is it just me?
No, I see it a lot, and I don't understand why you would want to look off anyways. I mean, you get more hurt doing that. In my experience, you get more hurt looking off than riding one.
Absolutely. You get hurt getting off one, not riding one. How many people get hurt riding a bull? You only get hurt when you get off one. That's either you getting off and land wrong, or the bull throws you underneath him or something. I think it's crazy. I think, I was always brought up myself, if you're man enough to nod your head, you're man enough to try. So what are we thinking here? I don't understand their reasoning for looking out. And I mean, and nowadays the money is crazy.
I mean, I think if you spend the money to travel, to go there, to get on, and then you just basically give up and look off, and I don't understand why you would invest that time and money to just quit.
Well, why would a sponsor invest that money in that guy too for looking off all the time?
You got a point there. I mean, sponsors don't want somebody just to hear their name called. They want somebody in the winner's circle that's going to draw the limelight, and then the media attention that people want to talk to and go buy their stuff, their T-shirts. Why do you think J.B. Mooney is so great? He reached in there every time and drew the rankest one out of the pen. If he had the option, he'd pick Bushwhacker every time, or Airtime, Asteroid. He got on Asteroid a couple times before he finally got him rode, but he wanted to do that. That was the Dragon Slayer versus the top bull in the world. That's what made J.B. Mooney, right? He was the stud of studs, and in my opinion, one of the greatest bull riders to ever stick his hand in a bull rope. But would he been that big had he had looked off and got off?
No.
Why would you look off and get off? What would be some of the reasons you think would cause them?
I got a question for Briar. I mean, you're in the locker room going up and down the road right now. Do you guys give them guys hard times that look off and jump off for no reason?
The way I was brought up, yeah, if you look off, the
name call's happening.
Yeah, you're going to get razzed. And I don't see that personally back behind the buck and shoots. I see a bunch of good job, you tried hard, but you really didn't.
Right.
Yeah, how can you tell somebody they did a good job when they're 4 seconds in and sitting in the middle and they go, oh man, I'm still riding. I better check out and get off. That's crazy. I don't get it. And you see it at all levels, not just the youth stuff and amateur stuff that you go to, Briar, but you see it on every level, all the way to the elite sport. I seen it at the PBR World Finals.
Yeah, this year.
And when it used to be kind of an American deal, but because when the Brazilians come over, when Adriano brought them over and all that, Adriano didn't really look off at first that I can remember. But as time started going on, man, they really started. It's like at the finals this year, there was several Brazilians check out and look out when they're dead center middle, and I'm like, what are we doing here? Is there an injury that would cause that? Something tweak, or you feel a knee pop or a grow and go or a shoulder or something, and then you go, I can't hack it. I can see that point, right? Because I rode bulls professionally for 20 years, and I've had torn biceps, messed up shoulders, knees, groins, you name it, I've done it. It would be a shorter list of what I haven't broke or done than it would be of what I have. I think there is some times there that guys, they're trying to ride hurt and get along to go, and I rode right-handed. Here's your story. I rode right-handed. Broke my right hand. Needed to make the finals. Had an event in Greensboro, North Carolina, and I call PBR office to see what I got. Man, it is a good bull. Just kick out there and spin left, and I'm like, I think I might be able to do that. I think I could do that. So I get on bulls at the house, left-handed, and I ride every one of them. And they're, 18, 19-point bulls. I didn't want to get on something salty and wreck me before I could even go. But so I got on a couple bulls at the practice pen at the house. I rode every one of them. I was like, man, I think I got this, right? I got this. I go to Greensboro, and I get on this bull. And sure enough, his name was semi-automatic. Just kick out of there, and just goes to getting it on right there. And as soon as he turns his head, if anybody's seen any videos of me back in the day, I would tend to go to one every now and then. And I guess reactions kicked in, and yeah, I did. I opened up and I went to him, and as soon as I did, I was on there long enough to get a really cool picture to prove that I did this at this level. Yeah. But, it wasn't a round and a half later. He stretched me out and washed me up, balled me up in a corner and wrecked me out, and I was like, I got up and I was like, oh, that didn't go so well. And then I had a really bad one the next night. I drew a pretty up and down, kind of treacherous one the next night. And I was like, you know what? No, I'm not going to get on because I don't think I could have done it. But there's some guys that can that do, JB rode left-handed for a while, or right-handed, I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. He rode right-handed for a little while.
Yeah, he rode that little Red Bull right-handed HDs.
Mm-hmm. He rode several.
I can't think of his name.
The top classic bull that year, right-handed.
Yeah.
And everybody thought, what is he doing? But how many times has that question been asked about JB? What is he doing? And then he shows up and shows out as normal.
The thing I love about JB is he come around in the draft, so he wasn't scared to reach in there and pick one that went into his hand or away from his hand. It didn't matter. He rose to the occasion, and if the best bull went away from his hand, he was going to pick the best bull.
And that's one thing I think I remember him saying is he don't regret any decision he made. He wanted to ride the baddest of the bad and be the best of the best. He said it might cost him a couple world champions, but he did it the way he wanted to do it. Nobody told him what to do. He did it the way he wanted to do.
He always picked over and over and over the same bull just so he could conquer him, and he never quit in his dream and where he wanted to go. But I think politic-wise, do you think people are looking off because quote unquote they're supposed to or they're told to? Not just injuries, but are they quitting because they're is it designed that way?
Bull riding is not designed on quitters. That's why it upsets me so much about the look-off virus or guys looking off nowadays, especially at the highest level. Because bull rider mentality. If you stacked, all 8, events in the locker room, I promise you, the cockiest one in there is going to be a bull rider. Their arrogance is in the room 5 minutes before they arrive. That's the way we're built. The way it's always been. You're cocky. You're arrogant. You're tough as nails, and you can ride Godzilla if you can get him. If somebody can get him captured and you can get on him. Right. So I don't know where this look-off thing is. Is it a damn millennial deal? Is it because the world basically has gone soft.
Yeah.
Is it bleeding over into bull riding? Because if so, man, I'm not a fan of that at all.
Or is it just a fad? Like on the lower ranks, is it people just want to go try to ride and say they rode a bull, but they just jump off?
You get that a lot. I think, and Blake can come in on this because he puts on a lot of youth bull ridings and series and things. And there's kids that come up right that you look at them and they're they're just out here doing it for fun, and or maybe their dad rode and their dad wants them to get on, but they don't want to. They don't want it. So they just do it to make mom and daddy happy. And
Parents
they're
living
never
through their
gonna-
kids.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they never. Yeah, and I hate that. I hate
do
that
too.
part.
Dad trying to live through their son and
Yeah.
and pushing
Relit-
them when they don't want to. Sometimes I even see the kid don't really have an interest, but the dad just keeps pushing them and that's just going to end up getting this kid hurt in the long run. If they don't want to do it, they do not need to do it.
No.
It's a kid's decision, and that's who needs to be left.
You know, I got a funny story about kind of what you're talking about right there. We was at a youth rodeo with Briar and Blaine one time, and I think it was Briar. You might remember this. I think it was in Sulphur, and Kurt Lyons was putting it on, and I think it was in like the calf riding or steer riding or something, and Kurt was standing there. Well, this kid did not want to get on. He was crying, throwing a fit. Daddy, don't. I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't want to. And his daddy's like, yes, you're getting on. You're going to get on. You're getting on. I mean, just not taking no for an answer, right? And Kurt's standing there, and Kurt's judging or whatever, and he's up there by the chutes, and he looks over at the dad, and he goes, he don't want to do it. And he goes, yeah, but he's going to get on. And Kurt looks at him and goes, I tell you what, if you make him get on, I got one in the back pins. You're going to get on. and the dad shut up, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of living through your kid, and that I think that's wrong, right?
Oh, yeah.
But we all know that there's kids that we can look at them. We put on enough and been around enough. You can see the ones that are going to make it and one ain't. The ones that take it seriously, right?
Right.
And even the ones that do take it seriously and try, sometimes their parents push them too hard and they get hurt. It's like a baseball pitcher. You take a kid that's throwing, they throw 80, 90 to 100 pitches a game and they use them 2 and 3 times a week. By the time that kid gets ready to go to the pros, there's going to be a couple things come up. One, his shoulder's probably going to be gone, need Tommy John surgery or some BS like that, or he's going to be burnt out. He is not going to. He's going to hate baseball because mommy and daddy pushed him.
It wasn't fun.
Yeah,
it's not a hobby anymore.
Because I started riding bulls because it was fun. My dad rode bulls, my older brother rode bulls, or was riding bulls, and that was just a cool thing to do. You wasn't cool unless you was riding bulls, and I had fun. It was challenging, and to be honest, it turned into I'm too lazy to work and too honest to steal, so I better ride bulls. So it was kind of one of them deals, and luckily for me, I was pretty dang good at it.
Right.
But that look-off virus, man, it's getting bad. When it reaches in to the PBR finals last year and shows up, you see it at the NFR a lot because, hey, let's be honest. Ever since the PBR come out and the PRCA was there, they kind of got it ends. They was kind of measuring their dicks, see who was going to win. Oh yeah, I've been PRCAs. I've been here longer. I'm a longer standing association, and I'm more prestigious because of all the history with the PRCA and stuff. And then the PBR come along, and all the bull riders left. All the top bull riders left the PRCA and started the PBR, and then went. PBR came quickly more prestigious to a bull rider than the PRCA was. Right. I think kind of lost train of thought there, but they got to measuring it, and back then the bull riders owned the PBR and they rode for something. They was building something, and so the PRCA has always been kind of that lower tier a little bit, because they wasn't as prestigious, and they didn't have for about 10 years they didn't have the top end bull riders, right? They had some good bull riders, right? I'm not downing anybody or throwing anybody on the bus, but let's all agree that. Can we all agree that hey, the PBR had the top bull riders? I mean, you had Tough, Jim, Ty, Clint, Cody Lambert. You had all them guys, all the top guys went to the PBR. What was PRCA left with?
Nothing really. And then coming up,
you had Cody Hancock and Blue Bryant and them guys, and they were young guys when it come up and got started, right? And I know Blue Bryant, I know Cody Hancock, and I like both of them and have no issues with them, and they decided to go, for whatever reason, they decided to go to the PRCA. And I'm not saying they couldn't have made it on the PBR. Maybe they seen it was maybe easier to go over there and fulfill their lifelong dream of being because when I grew up, I was wanting to be a PRCA world champion bull rider. Because that's all it was, right? That's all that was out there at the time. There was no PBR. So as a kid coming up as a bull rider, if you wanted to be a bull rider, you wanted to be the grizzly, right? You're going to be a bear, be a grizzly.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's where you had to go as I was growing up, and then the PBR come along. I think that might have been what kind of happened to them guys. Maybe, maybe not. But the best come to the PBR, and then so you would see some of the lower end guys make the NFR that normally if PBR wasn't around, them guys probably wouldn't even been in the top 20 in the PRCA standings to make it. So to see them check out on lower levels, kind of what I'm getting at is on the lower levels, it's kind of like we talked about the youth, kids not wanting to or guys lack of confidence and checking out. I can see that, right? I can see that a little bit, but on the elite level,
No excuses.
When you are the best of the best, when you go to the PBR finals and they're giving $1 million to the world champ, it pays $300 and something thousand to win the average. The rounds at the finals pay $35,000 a round. The events, regular season events, are paying $35,000 to $50,000 to $100,000 an event. What the hell are we thinking? What are we looking out for? If you're not going to try when you nod your head, why the hell even show up to the bull riding? Why waste your time? Are you just there for the buckle bunnies, or what are we talking about here? Why do they do this?
Yeah, I don't know. I know on like the youth side of it, I see kids getting injured and, break a leg, break an arm, and parents kind of push them to come back. Kids are kind of iffy, and, they come back and the confidence ain't there. They start looking off. I don't know, but the kids that want it, they'll come back stronger, better, wanting it. And the kids that parents are living through their kids, that's the kids that's going to get hurt and they're looking off. They don't want to do it. They're done. They're done. And it just keeps building. It's just stepping.
They break something and then they keep doing it, so they break something else because mom and dad's pushing them. So
the kids that want it come back and they're hungry for it and they want to be good. And I see that a lot in the youth side of it.
I can understand, right? A kid not wanting to get on and mom and dad's pushing them. Well, that mom and dad needs to be taken out back and beat with a stick.
Yeah.
I mean, really.
Right.
Either that or be like Kurt Lyons and say, I got one in the back pins for you. I'm going to run in here for you and see if you see how you like it. You get on him.
Right.
And I promise you they change their tune. I hate it. I see it all the time at youth deals. They're pushing them. I get that, right? The kid don't want to. That's the parent's fault.
Yeah.
But once you turn, like Briar is fixing to turn 16. If he come to me and said, hey, Dad, I don't want to ride. I want to go play golf or I want to do this. Hey, cool, fine. Because if you're not all in bull riding, you better be all out.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You're either all in or you're all out. There is no halfway, no in between because it's dangerous. People die every year doing this sport. Right. And unlike football, baseball, or anywhere else, you can't blow a whistle and stop the bull. I mean, you got, especially on the elite level, you got the best bullfighters in the world. Now, on the youth side, we can talk about, we can get into some of the wannabe bullfighters too. That you've got. I went to a deal the other day, and there was like 7 bullfighters in the arena. And let's just say there was people out there in baggies. I'm not going to call them bullfighters.
Yeah,
cowboy.
They're
protectors.
not bullfighters.
There's a whole bunch of wannabes because they didn't have. They're too dumb to realize that it's better to be a bull rider than it is a bullfighter because a bull rider he gets on 1-2 bulls a night. That bullfighter's got to get in front of
every
45 bulls a night, and maybe that's why I was so good because I was so dadgum scared of them. I didn't want to get off the bastards. I was scared to death.
Definitely not get hung up, huh? I remember he's talking about that last night. You'd rather be on top than go in the well and get hung up.
Yeah. This episode of Beyond the Buckles is brought to you by our friends at Sunnyside Graphic Design, Cactus Rodeo, Print and Stitch Company, DEL Cattle Company, and Blake Skaggs Bucking Bulls. So, we've got that aspect,
Well, I got a question for you, Cody.
All right.
What did you guys call people that looked off when you were riding?
Man,
What was the locker room back when you rode?
I'm telling you what, you wanted to go hide. Jerry Nelson told me one time. He said, and this was kind of about like, he was talking about being a stock contractor, right? But it plays over into being a bull rider too. Some days you're gonna, whether you give it your all or not, some days you're gonna want to strut out that front door after that bull riding, strut and show off. Well, when it comes time, when you buck off or look off or whatever, you're going to crawl out the back and hide from everybody. Because the guys that I rodeoed with and went to bull ridings with in the era that I come up in, I promise you was a pussy. You was scared. You was ridiculed. You was shunned. You was called everything in the book.
Right.
And I rodeo with Brian Herman, and he's supposed to be on the show, but he got a new job and couldn't get loose and come. But so we got old Briar here to fill in for that guest host this trip. But I rodeoed with him some. Went to some bull riding, stayed in hotels with him, and whoever did the worst for that weekend, or until you could get past it, had to carry a box of Tampax in their front pocket. In public. It wasn't. And, when we was going to big rodeos, and especially turn pros and stuff we'd go to, we'd go afterward, go get a beer or something, walk down through the carnival or a fair or whatever, and you got to have that box in your pocket. And I promise you, one time doing that down the lane and somebody laughing at you.
You don't want to be at it again, do you?
No, you don't want to do it again. I don't get it. And we've got some great guests coming on. And we're going to touch on a lot of these subjects and get their opinions on some of this stuff. We've got some old guys coming in. We've got some new guys coming in, some recent, professional that's still sticking their hand in the rope right now. And old fat guys like me that don't do it no more. So you're going to get both sides of it. But I don't see, and I'm not in that locker room nowadays.
Right.
So I don't see anybody razzing anybody or giving anybody any shit or calling them names or whatever. You've got to help one another, right? So you got to call these guys out on their faults, right? You can't just. Way I grew up is if you seen it, you owned it, right?
Right.
If you walk by something and it's broke, you fix it. Or, do the bull riders not try to help one another? Do they not give them pointers? Do they not? They're not calling them out on it, or else.
Me and Blaine, and I know we're brothers, but he'll see something that maybe you don't see, or I'll see something that you may not see, and I'll tell Blaine that. Or I'm like that with, several of my buddies too, but I don't think it, I think it should be better than what it is.
You always wanted to. Here's
Get
an idea.
better.
Here's an idea. There's $1 million on the line out there now. Are they just being stingy and going like, I'm not going to help that guy. I'm going to keep letting him look off because I'm going to take his money and go win $1 million?
I don't see bull riders
I don't
that
either.
way.
I just wanted to bring that up and kind of see what you guys thought about that.
But I'm not in the locker room right now either, so.
Well, we've got a pretty good show coming up on the next one, too, that everybody wants to listen in. But, the draft, did that help or hurt? Because why are you looking off? When you picked him, you picked your bull.
Or your coach picked him.
Or your coach picked him.
My question is, you was around when it first come out, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Why did it come out? Why did they get a draft?
I don't know for sure. I really don't. It was at the end of my career when the draft come out. I think what I was told was they really wanted to see the marquee matchups, right?
Right.
They thought that, the top guys would reach in there and be like J.B. Mooney and pick the top bulls. And Silvano's 3-time world champion, the whole 9 yards, but he didn't do that. No. He reached in there and picked, if that bull was available, I can't remember what bull it was, he picked like 9 times in a season. Got on the bull, picked him every time, and was like 89 or 90 every time. And the bull went into his hand. He knew
you could ride him.
Yeah, he knew he could ride him. He was playing the math game, right? He was
gathering the points
he ran
the money.
Numbers.
Yep.
And I think that's really the main reason why the PBR started changing their point system around, because of the Silvano effect.
That's also why Silvano does not have as big a name as JB.
You got a point. Even though Silvano's got
3 world titles,
1 more world gold buckle than JB. But how many gold buckles would JB have if he took the same?
Oh, there's no telling.
As Silvano. I mean, you couldn't buck him off.
There's no talent at all.
And style-wise, JB classed him up a little more than Silvano. Silvano was just really he wasn't as flashy, like a Chris Shivers or a JB or
Well, JB would cut loose
Clint
and go
Bronger
2-1.
in the day. I mean, Clint could the Roscoe Ranger buddy could
Windshield
could
wiper.
class one up like nobody's business. He was in probably a little more flat. Clint was a little more flashier than Cody Lambert. Cody Lambert, he had a cool style, real cool style, but it wasn't quite as catchy or as flashy, right?
Right.
But why you picked him, man?
Right.
But regardless of how they started the draft, it didn't turn out that way, right? It wasn't. It didn't go the way the PBR thought it would, or at least the way they told me they thought it would.
Right.
And I think it's created the one-dimensional bull rider.
Yeah.
They only pick bulls that go into their hand or they know they can ride. And I realize there's a lot of money out there, right?
Right.
But at some point, in my opinion, you cannot be one-dimensional and be a world champ.
No.
And I don't, and the Rafael de Brito guy that won it this year, he's fairly one-dimensional and come in 10th place, and we'll get into that to the next episode or two about the short season and stuff. But the one-dimensional side of it, I think the draft and I think the look-off virus, they catch one that goes away from their hand. They're not sure because of the draft. They're not sure that they can make the whistle or get there or buck off or whatever. So they go ahead and check themselves out, maybe save themselves to ride again tomorrow.
Right.
Do I agree with that? Hell no.
No.
I mean,
No.
I think, how are you supposed to be the best, entitled the best and the champ, if you picked every bull that you could ride? It's like, with JB, he picked every hard bull over and over and over until he beat it and won, and that's how you get a world champion.
Yeah, he had opportunities. He could have reached in there in a lot of them drafts, them short round drafts, and picked up, what was the Little Yellow Jacket Junior or something that licked it out across there. He could have
Gunpowder and lead or whatever.
Yeah, gunpowder and lead or
That 911 high test bull.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean something. But he wouldn't pick them, and all he had to do was make the whistle and be mid to high 80s and win the bull run. Well, no, JB would reach in there and pull Bushwhacker, Asteroid, Airtime.
90 or nothing.
Yeah, I mean
Well, it's
90
like
or nothing.
Stetson Wright when they made fun of him for taking that re-ride for being 86. Like he said, I don't go for second place. I go for first.
Yeah.
And 86
absolutely.
was not going to win first.
Why show up if you don't want to win?
Exactly.
I don't normally agree with Ty Murray on much of anything, but he did say one time that, I'm here to win first. And he had a world title race in the PRCA to win the PRCA world title one year, and it come down to one of the earlier rounds he got offered a re-ride. Now, he would have won 4th or 5th in that round or just out 6th. He had placed like last in the round. But he took his re-ride and moved up a spot or two. And I think that year he won the world title by like $91.
Wow.
So that re-ride helps.
Right.
But again, it goes back to bull riders. If you're cocky and you got to have confidence to be a bull rider, right? You got to know you can ride Godzilla on any given day.
Right.
Run him in here. I don't care what you got. Because if you show up at a bull riding and there's one bull in there you think you can't ride, guess what? That's the son of a buck you're going to have.
Yeah.
I know how it is. I've been there. And it's usually the big high-headed one back in the back, that's killed 3 clowns and run over 4 rodeo queens.
Right.
So,
And even going back to the JB topic, when he came in, he rode all but 1 or 2 of the world champion bucking bulls.
I think the only
since he
the
came
only
in?
bull that he didn't ride that was really top in Airtime, but I don't think Airtime ever won a world title. I think because he always had he'd always fall or something at the finals, and he wouldn't win. He'd be the best bull all year long,
and then get to the finals,
and all he had to do was put 2 good trips together, and Vegas just wasn't a spot for him,
right?
But that was it was pretty well known that Airtime was special,
right? Oh yeah,
he was the elite of elite. He was up there with Bushwhacker and Mickey Mouse and Asteroid and them,
right?
Bruiser and all that. But
how many guys can say they rode the world champion bucking bull of the year every year, pretty much when JB came to the PBR. He didn't back down.
No.
to nothing. He came to win every time and go home with a check.
And see, back in my day, we didn't have the draft, right? So you couldn't be one dimensional back when I was riding, because it was a draw.
You had to be a cowboy.
You had to learn to ride them all.
Chip
Whether
out
they
of
went
a
left,
hat.
they went right, they went straight. It didn't matter. They did cartwheels and swallowed their ass right there. It didn't matter. You had to learn how to ride them. You had to ride them all.
Right.
And now with the draft and the team deals, I think with the coaches picking their bulls and setting them up, and the guys are just it's going too one dimensional.
Weak-hearted.
Yeah,
In my
exactly.
opinion.
And that goes back to looking off. Obviously, you know.
mean,
Bull riders are obviously weak-hearted when when a stock contractor has to pay the bull riders to come get on bulls for a practice. For practice.
Yeah.
It's
It used to be you would show up and pay the stock contractor to just ride their bulls for the day.
yeah. Well, like the other day, we got bulls up at the house, and we get the bulls loaded in the buck and shoot, and no one wants to get on them. I'll get on them, but
Nobody wants it like they used to.
and they show up,
The
get
younger
their stuff out, and get
generation.
ready, and that bull rolls in there, and
They want it handed to
They
them.
want
goes
to stand
to-
there and watch
he
them. They
goes
want to
to-
watch them go first, but then get on them.
yeah, he goes to
And-
banging around in
chickens.
the buck and shoot.
Yeah.
and
Chickens.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it boils down to.
Yeah.
Get on a bull. If you want to be a bull rider, you're going to get on the bass of the bat or don't show up. Stay home. If you
Either
can't
you're all
hang
in
with
or
the big
you're all
dogs,
out, man.
stay on the porch. Yeah.
That's my way of thinking. You all in or you all out.
And just like when you was in practicing, you would have to pay to get on.
Yeah.
And they probably didn't have enough bulls in the back pins to support all you guys for how many you wanted to get on a day.
I can, and everybody is human, right?
Right.
And you have them brain farts, them moments, them memory lapses.
yeah.
Because I rode professionally for 20 years, and there's only a handful of times there that I can ever remember me, checking out or whatever. And I promise you, when I walked out of that arena, I never wanted to feel that feeling again.
Right.
Because I felt like a pussy. I felt a weak heart. I was a wimp. I was the hardest on myself, regardless what everybody behind the chutes was calling me, all that. That it wasn't cool,
No.
And it wore on me, and maybe that's why I become a world champion, because I was my worst critic. I was harder on myself than anybody else was, and I drove myself to be better, maybe. But it just, I don't understand, how can they do that on a regular basis like they're doing nowadays? It's a regular occurrence. You buck 10 bulls in the PBR or PRCA, and I guarantee you there's 6 of them that check out.
yeah.
And my thing is nobody wants to own up to their own mistakes nowadays.
No.
It's always the bull's fault. He's leaning. It's
Yeah.
the gate man.
Yeah,
The bull caught his eye. It's always somebody else's fault. They can't be criticized. Nobody can take it anymore. People's weak-hearted. They don't want to own up when it's their own fault. Own up to it and get your head up and do good at the next show.
That's because they got the shoot clock now, because nobody wants to get out of there.
No.
Nobody they want to sit in there and either soak them or something and try to take the edge off of them a little bit.
Yeah.
And maybe they got Godzilla or
Personally,
Rampage or Hammer, or what's the Cool Whip or something.
Yeah.
Now maybe they're a little worried about the drop or something.
Personally,
and
I think they're a little
gonna hop
scared
it in
when
there
they
and
do
try to
that.
soak him a little bit, take that edge off of him, to where maybe he's not quite so treacherous, or gives them the better edge. But I wasn't ever the fastest guy getting out of there. I dang sure wasn't the slowest.
Right.
But I didn't. I don't know. It's dangerous in that shoot, and you need to get the heck out of it.
I don't like being in the shoot. That's my opinion of it. I just don't like
Most
it.
dangerous part there is.
You get in and get out. I don't care what the bull's doing in there. There's always ways you can get in and get out.
But I think this new generation, they want everything given to them. They think they can show up and just walk away with a title and not do the work. There's a lot of work that goes in. It's confidence, knowing that you can go in and win, and just riding bulls constantly.
Yeah.
And they're not doing that.
Yeah, and you've got the stock contractors going for Bull of the Year, and you've got the ABBIs and the classics and stuff, and they're bull. I'm sure they want good bull riders to get on to show off their bull, because if you buck off of him real quick, they're not going to get a very good score.
No,
especially in the bull team deals, you're not going to win anything unless they ride 4 or 5 seconds, right?
Show the bull.
4 or 5 seconds. That's where it's going to be. So I know it's not a stock contractor problem.
Right.
You know, and the fans see it. I think could it be the millennial side of it? It's just the weak generation coming up. Maybe we grow up and they toughen up and get out of this virus. You know, what's the cure?
Stop looking out. It's pretty simple.
Yeah, I talked to Ed and I the other day, and I asked him. He said. He said, keep your hand closed and your chin down, and that won't happen. Yeah. But as JB would say it, just eat a spoonful of concrete and toughen the fuck up. Yeah. You know, I mean, or harden up, I guess is what he says. But hey, guys, I think it's been pretty good talk.
Heck yeah.
I've enjoyed this episode, getting started.
Yeah. Big things coming. Make sure you listen in right here.
Absolutely. If you like, guys, if y'all like the episodes, you like what we're doing here, go on Facebook and Instagram. Give us a like, comment, subscribe. Look us up, hang in, and we'll see y'all next time.
See ya.